Again, welcome. I'm Marian Friedel. I'm a member of the monthly meeting team, and I'm happy to welcome you tonight to our monthly meeting of the 350 Wisconsin. The recording is on, so I'd like to introduce the other members of the monthly meeting team who are with us tonight. Christina Koch, Julia Isaacs, Kelly Cairns are all with us at the meeting house, and helping remotely are Lee Langford and Susan Nossel. I'd like to introduce Julia Isaacs, who will do our land acknowledgement.
Is it going to be a problem if both mics are on? No. Okay. I wanted to take a few minutes to ask you to ground yourselves by taking 2 deep breaths and reflecting on your ties to this land and the water and ice around us. I want to respectfully acknowledge that this meeting house where I stand is on the ancestral and continuously inhabited Ho-Chunk land. I usually go on to speak of the forced removals and the resilience of the Ho-Chunk people who are still here today. But a member of the board called me and encouraged me to use this time to call out the fact that the white settler culture of grabbing lands from indigenous people is also still very much with us here today in 2025. Not that it went away, but it's just so in our face. There are many examples of this from Donald Trump, including his executive orders on an energy emergency and expediting permitting of energy projects, his plans for the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, or his talk of buying or invading Greenland, a country where 89% of the people are indigenous peoples, the Inuit. I believe we're all seeking ways to respond and resist these attacks on the land and on indigenous sovereignty. I'd like to close this land acknowledgement with some words from the Executive Director of Honor the Earth. Her name is Crystal Tubols, and she is Oglala Lakota and Northern Cheyenne. She recently wrote, "Honor the Earth has been here for decades, and we'll be here long after January 20th, 2029. Like our ancestors, we are resilient. We will not just survive, we will thrive. Together, we will dismantle oppressive systems and build a sustainable future." Thank you.
So here's our overview for the evening tonight. We're still in the opening welcome, but I will pause and extend an extra warm welcome to anyone who is here for the first time. Is anyone in the room here for the first time? Welcome, welcome. Please let us know if in the chat if you're a newcomer online and where you're from. I hope you feel welcome. I want to publicly state that we want 350's Wisconsin public meetings to be welcoming and supportive for all people, regardless of background or identity. Our code of conduct is being shared in the chat. To provide more context, contact the monthly meeting team if you have any questions. Next, we're going to have a short breakout session for folks to chat with each other and connect. Breakouts will be about 8 minutes long, and we will give a 1-minute warning before bringing everybody back. In the room here, please break into groups of 2 to 3, and you can move around or move your chairs. And you'll be put in groups in breakout rooms online. Here is the suggested discussion topic. Have you had some success in reducing your use of plastics? What challenges have you faced trying to do so? So now we'll introduce our speaker, and Christina Koch will come up to the front and do the introduction.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Koch, and I'm happy to introduce tonight's speaker, So tonight we're having one of our own 350 Wisconsin members, Amanda Lauricella, speak. She is a classical singer and a climate activist. So she's based in Madison, Wisconsin, and she works as a professor and as a freelance musician, and is also committed to climate work in groups like 350 Wisconsin, working with the Art Collective. So she joined the climate movement in 2022 after learning about the global landfill crisis, and has done work locally with different groups around composting and reducing waste. And she's also passionate about reducing individual and collective plastic use and the relationship with plastics and ocean health. So she'll be speaking tonight on plastics and how we can maybe use less of them in our lives. So Lee, I'm going to have you take down the slides, and I will put Amanda's slides up, and then we'll have her come up and share with us. 1 second, everyone. Okay, please welcome Amanda.
I'm standing a little bit farther from the mic, so just give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me.
You sound good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm so excited to be here and talk about this topic that I just love talking about so much. So yeah, as you heard, I am not formally educated on this topic. I am self-educated informally, but I'm very passionate. Okay. I want to start out with this quote. Waste is not a noun. It's just a verb. So waste, there's no material that is inherently waste. We waste material, but no material is inherently waste. So when we're done with a material, we call it waste because we're done with it. But nothing, when we throw something away, there is no away. Nothing is away. It goes somewhere. It sometimes decomposes, and it sometimes does not. So I think my hope with this presentation is to, one of the goals is to maybe inspire you to maybe take more responsibility for the afterlife of the materials that you use. Okay, so first, what exactly is plastic? Plastics are synthetic or semi-synthetic materials that are made from molecules derived from oil and petroleum. And because of this, the plastics industry and the fossil fuel industry are directly connected. Plastic as a substance never biodegrades. It never fully decomposes. It only gets smaller, and it gets smaller and smaller over time and turns into microplastics, but it never really goes away. It is not biodegradable. So why is plastic harmful? There are many answers to this question. First, in terms of greenhouse gases, it's responsible for over 3% of greenhouse gas emissions from the extraction to the incineration. And the majority of plastics, like I said before, are made from fossil fuels and or toxic chemicals. Plastics have ended up in nearly every corner of our oceans, literally, and are killing marine life as they enter food chains or entangle animals. Plastic works its way into the human bodies too, through our food and water. Research shows that the average person, and this is pretty unbelievable, but the average person globally consumes about 5 grams of plastic per week, which is the equivalent of a credit card worth of plastic per week. Again, through our food and water. So plastics as a substance are kind of like sponges. They absorb toxins and then they release those toxins. They absorb toxins including chemicals, heavy metals, and antibiotics. And then these toxins are released into the environment or into bodies of organisms that consume the plastic, including humans. Some types of plastic also are known carcinogens and have been linked to cancer. And lastly, plastics overall is simply a last-ditch effort by the fossil fuel industry to make more money. So the fossil fuel industry knows that we are moving away from oil and gas, and this is their last-ditch effort to keep everything going. So recycling, this is very confusing, I find. I think we have a lot of mixed messaging around this. But I think this first statistic is actually pretty widely known, that only about 9%, and this is actually kind of a generous number, of plastic globally is recycled. 12% is shipped off to other countries and most likely incinerated. And when this incineration happens, toxic chemicals and a lot of greenhouse gases are released into the air. And 79% of plastic, even if it's initially put in the recycling bin, ends up in landfills. In landfills, the plastic leaches chemicals because we talked about how it absorbs chemicals. It leaches chemicals into the soil and into the groundwater, or simply pollutes nature as litter. Many types of plastics are also just kind of inherently difficult to recycle due to many things, due to contamination and limitations in current technology. And technically, plastic is not recyclable. Recyclable, if we're talking about the meaning of that word, means that you take something and turn it into another version of that something. So for example, an aluminum can. Aluminum is actually amazing in terms of recycling ability. An aluminum can, when you put that in the recycling bin, it literally can turn into another aluminum can. Aluminum is forever recyclable, no matter how many times it gets recycled. But a plastic bottle cannot turn into another plastic bottle. So because of that, it is actually not recyclable. It is what we call downcyclable. So for example, that plastic bottle can be turned into another substance like nylon, like for nylon leggings. But that new substance cannot be recycled. That's the end of its life. So in that sense, plastic is not even recyclable. It's downcyclable, but that new recycled substance has to go to a landfill. Another reason why we can't recycle it, sadly, it's so much cheaper to produce virgin plastic than to pay for the recycling process. It's cheaper. The energy and equipment required to recycle it is more expensive. And then I wanted to talk about these chasing arrows. I have a slide that has a picture of this. So we've all seen this, these chasing arrows that have a number in the middle often. And so this is a total myth that these chasing arrows means it's recyclable. It simply means it is number 4 plastic. It does not mean, and you can recycle this. For example, actually number 4 plastic, which is associated with soft plastic, it usually is not recyclable and isn't even picked up in the recycling bin outside. So don't be fooled by the chasing arrows. They really don't mean anything except this is this kind of plastic. And unfortunately, when it comes to kinds of plastics, the kind of the supply and demand for a certain kind of plastic is always changing. And therefore, it really goes back to it's just cheaper to produce virgin plastic. So what can we do? All of this, when I really, really dug into this, I just was extremely overwhelmed, but we can do things. But I will say before I start talking about our own individual actions, ultimately, governments and large corporations have the power, the money, the resources to make large-scale change. As consumers, however, we also have a lot of power. We vote with our dollars, and we have the power to hold these corporations accountable by either demanding transparency from a corporation or simply refusing their product. So the last bit that I wanted to talk about was this phrase. I know we're familiar with the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle, but I think we want to think of recycling actually as the very last option, and we want to ultimately refuse if we're able to, then reduce, then reuse, then repurpose, and then if none of those can happen, it goes in the recycling bin. But recycling is just not, it's not a catch-all solution. Okay, so we're going to now talk about ways that you can reduce your own plastic use in your daily life. And I just want to preface this with, I'm going to offer a lot of options in this part of the presentation. And I just want to clarify that none of these, I'm not claiming that any of these is the right choice and not doing them is the wrong choice. This is actually so much more complex because obviously I'm only focusing under the umbrella of plastics, but under the larger umbrella of the climate crisis, there's so many other issues that come into how is this product made, et cetera. So this is just simply a more informed choice under the lens of plastic, but it's just so much more complex than this is a right choice and this is a wrong choice. Okay, so let's start in the kitchen. Okay, so obviously plastic-free food packaging, this is huge, especially produce. If you're able to opt for loose produce or any sort of items that are packaged in aluminum, like I said, which is very recyclable, or glass. So if you're able to have an option between this is packaged in plastic and this is packaged in glass, go for the glass. Obviously, so produce, for example, produce packaged in plastic is probably packaged in plastic because it traveled many miles. So buying local food is another great way to not only support local business, but also local food is just so much more likely to be loose, like loose produce, because it didn't have to travel. And I mean, this kind of is like a side topic, but I really wanted to throw in, you know, obviously composting all food scraps and organic matter. This is kind of a whole other topic, but I wanted to throw that in there because that is such a huge thing that we can do as individuals. And then upcycle glass jars for refillable bulk items. So for example, if you find a store that has an amazing bulk aisle and you can bring your own container, always opt for that bulk option instead of choosing another aisle where that same product is already packaged for you. So that way you can reuse your own containers. Also opting for wood cutting boards or bamboo cutting boards, also wood or bamboo cooking utensils other than plastic ones, opting for glass food storage and dishes. And this is especially important when we're reheating leftovers. So we really, really want to avoid reheating leftovers in a plastic package because microplastics will come off and into your food. Also making your own dinners and desserts and snacks. Obviously, this is a huge way we can avoid packaging, and also similarly growing your own herbs so you don't have to buy them in plastic. Okay, let's move to the bathroom. So I'm going to talk a lot about this, the material of bamboo here. So you could get a bamboo toothbrush and a bamboo hairbrush. Usually those two things are almost always plastic. And this is not so much to replace plastic, but I want to throw this in there that there's also bamboo-based paper products like tissues and toilet paper. And I'll explain more in a second why bamboo is just such a great alternative to plastic. Refillable floss that isn't coated in plastic and also that isn't in a plastic container. I love the brand Dental Lace. That's a really great brand. And then shampoo and conditioner, there's so many shampoo and conditioner bars on the market now. And you can also find a refill store where you can simply bring your empty shampoo and conditioner container and refill it. Okay, so just a word on bamboo. Bamboo is amazing. It's an amazing substitute for plastic because it is a highly renewable, fast-growing resource. That is very biodegradable and it absorbs 2 times the amount of carbon than trees. And so it's a great alternative to plastic since it is also compostable and can biodegrade in the right environment in about 2 months, as opposed to 450 plus years for plastic. Going back to the bathroom, so plastic-free packaged razors, plastic-free packaged deodorant. There's a bunch of options on the market now in terms of deodorant that are either kind of more in like paper containers or even like refillable deodorant creams. Plastic-free packaged bar soap. So you can get bar soap that is packaged in paper or just loose soap. Honestly, the bar of soap is just like the easiest, awesome swap that you can make instead of shower gel. And then moving to the laundry room. So obviously those big jugs of laundry detergent are not great. They're also super heavy, so they emit a lot of emissions when they travel. So there's tons of like different laundry strips brands on the market now. Or there's also detergent powder as well. And then in terms of dryer sheets, I would recommend substituting wool dryer balls for dryer sheets because dryer sheets do have plastic in them. And also wool dryer balls help to reduce your drying time and your energy. And then in terms of clothing, this is so important. If you're buying new clothing, take a look at the fiber that it's made of. And so we want to look for organic fibers such as cotton, wool, silk, linen, hemp, or bamboo, as opposed to synthetic fibers like nylon and polyester. And so the reason for this is when we wash our clothes, tons of microfibers shed when we wash our clothes. And if it's a synthetic material like polyester or nylon, microplastics are coming off of those. And so this is such a huge thing to consider with the laundry. And then with that, choosing a cold cycle when possible, because the hotter the water, the more microplastics are shed. Okay, on the go. So just a note, the top 5 single-use plastics are plastic bags, like plastic grocery bags, water bottles, coffee cups, and no, they're not recyclable, straws, and cutlery. And notice all of these things, pretty much all of these things have to do with the food and drink industry, which has become so, I don't know, convenient. So you'll notice that plastic often shows up when it's convenient. So just a little bit of planning ahead of time. So packing your own reusable coffee cup, packing your own reusable water bottle, I actually recommend getting like a bamboo cutlery set. It's super lightweight and I literally take it in my purse wherever I go. And also reusable straw, also reusable produce bags. Those are big. I use them like every week when I go to the grocery store. Obviously reusable grocery bags. And this last one you'll look a little weird, but I recommend doing this, taking your own takeout container to restaurants. So if you are going to a restaurant, just slip a lightweight takeout container in a bag. And if you don't finish that food, you don't have to use, it's often like kind of like a plastic lined box or even styrofoam, which is a pretty bad offender too. So bringing your own takeout container to restaurants. And then just some miscellaneous things, using matches instead of plastic lighters. Pet waste bags, there's some good brands that are plastic free. I think BioBag is a good brand. And then just always looking for compostable options, because if it's compostable, it is plastic free. And then really starting to look into refill options in your local area. We have a great refill store right here in Madison. It's called Green Life Trading Company, and it has any product that you can think of, you can refill there. You just take your own container. So refilling products like dish soap, hand soap, and cleaning spray. And then getting creative and making your own products. This is super fun. And frankly, I feel like sometimes turns out better than the store-bought products. So some examples of this, you can make your own lip balm and you can make your own moisturizing bars, both of which are always packaged in plastic. So just some final thoughts. Be gentle with yourself. This is a lot. I am not recommending an overhaul of your whole life and all of your plastic stuff. I think the best thing is to use what you already have in order to avoid more plastic from going into the landfill. And yeah, don't try to do all of these changes at once. So be gentle with yourself and let these small actions motivate larger actions beyond your own life. Kind of use this as setting the foundation to practice what you preach, and then let that motivate larger action, because there must be a balance between individual action and large scale action. So I wanted to close with some resources. So this presentation will be available if you don't get a chance to write all these down, but these are some great books. I haven't read all of these, but I've read a handful of them. And based on the research I've done, these are really great books on the topic. And then I also will recommend a couple videos. Both are on YouTube and for free. One is a great episode of a PBS show, and then another is a great documentary that kind of takes you through the life cycle of plastic. And then lastly, we have some really great organizations, one of which is in Milwaukee, Plastic Free Milwaukee, and their websites. So thank you so much, and I will answer some questions.
All right. So people on Zoom, I have my phone up, so feel free to put questions in the chat. One question that came up, which kind of refers to your thing about this is all complex, is that someone said they've heard that bamboo fibers are processed with nasty chemicals. And is that problematic in terms of switching to bamboo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it depends on like the company that processes them, but yeah, this is why it's so, I mean, it's just so clear that no choice is the perfect choice. That just doesn't exist. I think like I said, there are more informed choices. There are kind of maybe better choices than others, but there is literally no choice that is 100% sustainable, the perfect choice. So I think it's just becoming more informed about certain things, and then kind of making your decisions based off of how much information you can gather. But I will say that there is no perfect choice when it comes to this.
Someone just put a comment in that they took a reusable coffee mug like to a coffee shop and they wouldn't fill it. Has that happened to you? Do you want to share a little bit about what maybe you could do in that situation?
Yes, that has happened to me. I was actually pretty shocked. I was like, really? Why not? I honestly just walked out, which I recommend. It felt good. Yeah, I didn't get the coffee. Now, obviously, like I said, be gentle with yourself. If you need coffee and they're refusing, you tried, you know, we don't have to be perfect. I have used a handful of coffee cups in the last year. But yeah, I think it's about trying your best and also being gentle with yourself when things don't work out. Because ultimately we want to get to a point where it's sustainable for you long term. And if you try to be perfect with these things, you're not going to last more than a month, because frankly, this isn't sustainable to be perfect long term. We live in a society where this is not possible to be perfect at these things forever and ever. So yeah, be gentle with yourself.
So another question, are there good resources for teaching children?
Oh, I haven't really looked into this. But I'm assuming there are. I haven't really looked into that. I'm not sure if I can answer that.
If anybody online has stuff, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll make sure to save it and try to reference it in the materials. I think we have a similar, I don't know if there's really an answer to this question, but someone said at Woodman's, organic cabbage is wrapped in plastic and non-organic cabbage is plastic free. How do you balance organic versus plastic? And
yeah, this is the perfect example. So like I said, there is no right choice and wrong choice. There is just kind of looking through a specific lens. Maybe this is a better option, but looking through another lens, like organic or not, the other is the better option. So this is why it can be maddening as a consumer to have to make these decisions. I think when I first started thinking about all of these things, I would literally stand in the grocery aisle for like 10 minutes looking at a product and like kind of going over all of the different things in my brain of like, okay, it has this, but it's not locally made, but then it's this. So it's like, it's a constant weighing of, it's so complex that sometimes you just have to make a choice and be okay with that choice. But yeah, that's a perfect example of why there is no wrong choice or right choice. It's all through a very specific lens. And what might be a better choice through one lens is not a better choice through another. And that's why it's pretty frustrating.
all right, any questions from the room? Hold on, we're gonna get a mic.
I have been to some grocery stores that charge you if you use a plastic bag when you're going through the checkout, and Woodman's certainly does not. I'm wondering if anybody has any idea of how common that practice is and how charging people for using plastic bags might become a more common practice.
Yeah, so that is becoming more common, although it's certainly not the norm. However, now we're talking about different states. So for example, New York State, I believe, has banned plastic bags entirely. So yeah, I think that's the hope. I think unfortunately, doing something like making it more expensive to use a plastic bag might be a good option to really motivate people to bring their own bags. But yeah, I have heard that is becoming more and more common.
Mark, I'm on a meeting. Should I go get him?
Yeah, just a couple quick resources for educators. One, here in Wisconsin, there's an organization called the Wisconsin Association of Environmental Educators, WAEE, and every year they have a great conference covering all sorts of issues, including a lot on recycling. Also at UW-Stevens Point, there's the KEEP program, which is the K-12 environmental education program. So if you know someone who's going into education and they're interested in environmental education, the Stevens Point program is really a great one. So
I was just going to comment with his thing. I know our local co-op actually credits you 5 cents for each one. Your probably does the same. And that's kind of a good incentive locally for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can kind of type in that you brought your own bag and it will give you a sort of maybe like a 5 cent discount. Yeah, absolutely.
If I can quickly talk about bags, Pick and Save, if you bring your cloth bags, which I've done for 30 years, to Pick and Save, they give you a credit for each of the bags. It's like a nickel a bag, so they don't use the plastic bag. So Pick and Save gives me a credit every time I bring in 8 or 9 well, I don't use that many, but 8 or 9 cloth bags. So, and I've got a whole bunch of cloth bags. So, yeah. So for what it's worth, Pick and Save, at least over the years, as far as I know, gives me a credit for each cloth bag. I mean, like a nickel for each cloth bag that I use. So it's not much, but it's something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so this is a perfect example of corporations making it easier for us to be more mindful rather than I think sometimes it can seem like it's really, really hard for us to make a better choice. And so I think it's up to corporations just to do something simple like that. Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that in Wisconsin, we are not allowed to ban plastic bags. We have a ban on bans. So yeah, so like in a city like Madison, where you would think that we would want to ban plastic bags, we are legally disallowed to. So that's another thing to yell at the legislature about.
Also might be a good reason to vote about the Supreme Court, vote
Yes.
for in the Supreme Court election. My question is just your opinion about Madison recycling. And I know they do a lot of plastics recycling. Do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I noticed that. So as of maybe a year or two ago, you could only put in a certain, I think it was plastic numbers 1, 2, and 5 into the bin. And now apparently they accept 1 through 7, which is surprising. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't think that if you put it in the bin, it will get recycled. But yeah, I did hear that they are now accepting all numbers, which is actually pretty rare. I think most cities usually only accept like maybe 1 and 2, numbers 1 and 2, if we're going back to the chasing arrows thing, and maybe also number 5. So all of those are actually what we call hard plastics for the most part. And then the most common soft plastic out there is number 4, which is usually rarely accepted in the curbside bin. But apparently you can put numbers 1 through 7 the last time I checked in the Madison bin, which is good. Whether or not they will be recycled is another thing, but
Okay. I think we probably need to transition to announcements. There were some other good comments in the chat about like turf and other forms of recycling. So people are very engaged. Thank you again, Amanda, for sharing with us. And I'll have Lee, if you want to put the slides back up, and Kelly will be walking us through our announcements.
Okay, and Christina, you're going to need to be on your computer because all the announcers are online. Yeah. So sorry, these hybrid meetings are still kind of new for us, so we're still kind of working out of some of the kinks here. So I'm Kelly Kearns, also on the monthly meeting team, and we have multiple announcements here tonight. So our first action updates, I think we have 2 of them from Brittany Reamer, who is our fossil fuel resistance organizer. So Brittany, can you unmute yourself?
I sure can. Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everyone. So we've been sending out quite a few emails lately about the We Energies and WEC proposals for gas plants in Wisconsin, and there's a hearing coming up on March 25th for the Oak Creek plant. So this plant comes in the wake of We Energies customers still paying for the Oak Creek coal plant. That plant was completed in 2011 and was the most expensive construction project in the history of the state. So these new gas plant proposals are driven mostly by the data centers that are also being proposed in the state. So if you're able to make it on March 25th, there are 2 hearings, one at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. at the Oak Creek Community Center and also online. This is a great opportunity to voice your concerns and share your opinions on these gas plants, and to also ask for a full environmental impact statement on the Oak Creek plant. There will be carpools from Madison on that date, and if you are interested in catching a carpool, you can contact me. My email is on the screen there.
And I think, Brittany, are you going to be talking about the origami fish?
Yeah, I am. Look at that lovely photo. So this is going to be a little bit mysterious and a little bit vague, but if you are looking for something fun and relaxing to do, which of course you are, we all are at this point in time, you can help us fold some origami fish, and stay tuned for an exciting announcement about those fish next week. If you are there in person, I believe Emily has some origami paper and some instructions for you all. And I just want to point out that the photo there on the slide was taken this last week at the 350 Network Council retreat that Emily and Stephanie and I were at in San Diego. And what was it? I think, what'd you say, Emily? 529 fish we folded there. So pretty awesome. And in the same vein, I just wanted to share an exciting update. As many of you know, 350 Wisconsin, along with Sierra Club and the League of Women Voters of Wisconsin, represented by MEA, filed a petition for a contested case hearing against the DNR for the permits that they approved for Enbridge's Line 5 reroute in northern Wisconsin. And some good news is on Friday, and we just learned about this today, the administrative law judge actually issued an order extending a stay on construction on Line 5. So that means as long as we are in the legal challenge, no construction can move forward on Line 5. And I'm going to put a link in the chat for that press release.
That's great news, Brittany. Thank you. Okay, next we have Sharon Barber, who is with the Regenerative Land Relations team, and she's the co-chair on that. So Sharon, I hope you're on the line.
I am on the line. Thanks, Kelly. And thank you for your good work, Brittany. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so 2 or 3 times a year, the Regenerative Land Relations team organizes tours of farms using regenerative practices for several reasons, including educating ourselves, building relationships with growers who are using regenerative practices, and then inviting the media to come along and make connections for people between ag practices and climate change. So we have a winter farm tour coming up. That's unusual. But it's a tour of Wisconsin's largest indoor urban farm. It's on Saturday, March 15th at 3 o'clock. We hope to be carpooling with whoever wants to go from the Madison area, leaving the Madison Dutch Mill Park and Ride area at about 1:30 to carpool. And the name of the farm is 100 Acre. It's a hydroponic greens farm in Milwaukee that provides greens year-round to that local area, hoping to help be part of a more resilient food system for the Milwaukee area. And then they also do some workforce development work at the farm to also support their community. So it's just $5 for the 45-minute tour. Please bring cash. There's an add-on if you want to taste some of their foods, which is an additional 15 minutes, and it's an additional $30. And if you're interested, so you can read this, wear long pants, closed-toed shoes. If you're interested, then you can contact me. You can RSVP me or just contact me for more information that's my email right there. By March 11th, please, possibly March 12th. Yeah, so just let me know if you have any questions. We hope to get, well, they can take a maximum of 30 people, but we're hoping to get a good showing. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Next is Mark Putnam, who is our political organizer for 350 Wisconsin Action, our sister organization.
Hey, Kelly. Actually, I'm going to be taking this one today. I think Mark's in and out today, but hi, I'm Nikki. I'm the Director of Operations and Volunteer Engagement, and I am taking off my 350 Wisconsin hat, and I'm putting on my 350 Wisconsin Action hat, which is our sister organization that works on electoral and advocacy work. And so we are really gearing up for the April 1st election, the state Supreme Court election. And if you were not aware, this Supreme Court election is going to have a heavy impact on many, many topics that are dear to all of us, but on climate action specifically as well. So things that are going to happen, with Susan Crawford, who we, as 350 Wisconsin Action, have endorsed, is rejecting lawsuits to slow climate action, defending democracy. Those fair maps that were redrawn would be contested again. And so not having her on the court would mean those could be reversed. And when it comes to the opponent, Brad Schimmel, he has actually used the state of Wisconsin in the past when he was employed by Scott Walker to fight climate in the past. So we know that he would not be a climate champion. And this is the first election of 2025. All eyes are on Wisconsin. And we need to show the country that, the majority of people are not happy with what's happening on the climate front and otherwise. And really, a decisive electoral defeat is going to be a strong way to send that message. So she would support freedom, justice, rule of law. And there are some other crucial elections as well. State superintendent is up, as well as some local elections, alders in different cities and municipalities. So we will be out there. Next slide. And we hope that you will join us out there. We have a ton of volunteer opportunities for people to get involved on this election with us. So one of them is our relational organizing program. We are doing this through an application called Empower. And essentially, you get paid by Empower to connect with your family and friends in your network to basically get them out to vote. This election is different from the last federal election where everyone was inundated with messaging. This is an off year, and so there may be a lot of people within your circle who are not even aware this is happening. We will be having weekly door knocking that will encompass both regular canvassing as well as deep canvassing, which is a way of talking to people that really puts conversation and making connections at the forefront throughout Dane County. So Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, we'll be out there hitting those doors. If you would like to knock doors outside of those areas, that's great. We have opportunities to do that as well. You can email Mark, whose email is down here below, and he can basically give you lists of doors to knock anywhere in the state. We also have weekly phone banking happening on Tuesdays, Tuesday evenings. So if you're interested in doing something but you can't get out and door knock, that's an option. We also are doing quite a bit of campus outreach again this year, which we did last year as well. And so anyone who wants to come and talk with students, to connect with students, can sign up for that as well. High traffic canvassing just means that we're at a busy street corner really trying to engage with students, get them to find the information and make pledges to vote. All of our volunteer opportunities are going to be on this sign up link that we'll put in the chat. I see there's also a question in the chat here. There is more opportunity for deep canvas learning. We also have a recorded training for that. So I will let you know when additional deep canvas trainings are, and we will make sure that everybody has access to that recorded training as well, for those of you who can't make a particular time. So those are some of the opportunities. There's lots and lots, and we're really pushing this month because that election is April 1st and it's coming up very, very quickly.
And for those of you in person, there are sign-up sheets out here on the table.
Yes.
John, yes. Come up here. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can still sign up for relational organizing.
Okay.
Just wanted to make one additional comment. Actually, I was canvassing on Saturday, and it's a great experience. One thing, we're really fortunate that we have the opportunity to use databases. So the doors we knock on and the phone numbers that we call are people who are friendly to our concerns. What we're really trying to do is get people out to vote who may not vote otherwise, but are concerned about climate and similar issues. So you're not going to knock on a door and highly unlikely you're not going to get, harassed by someone who's a MAGA person or whatever. It can be a great experience getting out there and being able to talk to people. So I just really encourage you to give it a try if you're at all comfortable having conversations with folks. It's a really great experience, and yeah, this election just means so much. So connect with Mark. He's great. I've really enjoyed working with him, and help us all get out there and win this election. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just looked, and that tiny URL that Mark just put in the chat actually does have the Deep Canvas training linked on it. So it is right in that document. I think we're ready for the next slide.
Yep.
All right. So speaking of which, there is another opportunity to get out there and spread the word. We are going to be a part of the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Sunday, March 16th. So we would love for people to sign up, and, you know, we'll be visible. We'll be asking people to vote for Crawford and asking people to vote for the planet and vote for climate. So we would love to see you there, and more details will be coming for that. And we do have a sign up as well.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. I think that's it for team announcements. So, so you have it on your schedule. Our next 2 monthly meetings are going to be April 7th and May 5th. And we're hoping to get somebody to speak about communicating with elected officials for the April meeting. And Mark's topic, can anybody remember what Mark's going to be talking about? Oh, cross-organizational organizing would be for May 5th. And so the next slide is upcoming team meetings. We have a lot of teams in this organization, and you are welcome to join any of them. So you folks that are new, take a look and see if there's any you're interested in, and talk with the other folks, either during the chat time or here in person. And I believe that is it for the team meetings, and I'll leave it to Marion.
Thank you for attending our March monthly meeting.